Welcome back. Just gone 8 o'clock. You would talk, of course, the home of common sense, the home of alarm clock Britain's 3 minutes past 8. Whatever you want to talk about. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. So much to talk about. Be it the royal scandal, be it the Chagos Islands, be it the announcement by Reform later about 300,000 illegal immigrants. They guarantee, if they're elected, will be deported yearly. Zia Youssef doing that at 11 right now. He's actually on the line. Nigel Farage, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Very well, thank you.
Good to have you on. Can we start with Chagos? Extraordinary footage of you at the weekend in your polo shirt out there in the Chagos Islands. And it wasn't lost on me that you can't get into a British territory, but you can come to this country illegally and get in and basically get a hotel room. What's wrong with us all then? Have we got it around the wrong way, Nigel?
Well, I suppose at least Starmer has stopped one boat, hasn't he? I mean, it was quite extraordinary. I went out to the Maldives. I was asked whether I would take some very important equipment, which I was more than happy to do. I then had intended to go down to Ile-de-Croix, which has now been settled for a week by those 4 Chagosians, and I wanted to go and see them and find out just how they were getting on. There was almost hysterical intervention from the British government, the British High Commissioner. They were desperate to know where I was in the Maldives. They couldn't find me. They were out hunting for me, but I managed to stay just about undercover. But basically, the British government said to the Maldivian government, you must stop this man from leaving on a boat with the intention of heading towards Chagos. And I am a British citizen. This is British territory. I also just happen to be an MP. I'm a leader of a political party. I mean, the whole thing is unbelievable. And we have 4 guys on that island who need more supplies. They were only landed with the very basics. And it seems the British government is making that as difficult as it possibly can. And think about this. Michel Mandarin, he's in his 70s. When he was 14 years old, he was forcibly removed from that island, dumped on the quayside down in Mauritius. He had to live from food scraps out of bins. If it hadn't been for the Catholic Church, hundreds of them would probably have died. He is now in his 70s, back on the island, his homeland. He was visiting graves yesterday of his family, of his ancestors, and he faces, potentially, for the second time in his lifetime, being evicted from his homeland by a Labour government. And you know what really gets me, Jeremy? This government is full of human rights lawyers. It's surrounded on the outside, too, by human rights lawyers. They bang on about this all the time. Well, what about the human rights of black Chagosians? For some reason, they don't seem to count.
Somebody said, I couldn't agree more, but somebody said, and you know me, I've got to give both sides, the Chagos Islands is a military base. That is why, this is what I hear from sources, that is why Nigel Farage was denied entry.
Well, that would be okay if where we were going to was close to Diego Garcia. Now, there is absolutely no doubt that Diego Garcia is America's most important military base in the world outside of mainland America. But try this. Ile-de-Croix is over 120 miles away from Diego Garcia. It's further away from Diego than Cuba is from Miami.
Wow.
I mean, there is no rational, logical argument for this whatsoever. What we have is a terrible sin that was committed against these people and within my lifetime. And what we have been trying to do is to assist them, to help them in righting that wrong.
And highlighting it, right? Making the point.
Well, absolutely. Highlighting it, helping them in any way. All they're asking for is to leave Crawley, where most of them live, and they're not particularly happy, to go back and rebuild a life, an innocent life on those islands. What on earth could be wrong with that? And, you know, also, you know, the United Nations, something that apparently Keir Starmer thinks is terribly important. You know, one of the main principles of the UN is the right to national self-determination. Yep. And yet this grubby deal with Chagos, over Chagos, they've not even consulted the Chagosian community, and they stand up and lie in the House of Commons and say there are mixed opinions within the Chagosian community. Oh, no, they are not. And I learned something else whilst I was there, Jeremy, that was very, very interesting.
Yeah.
The Maldivian government are even angrier about this deal than I am. They say that they have historical links with the Chagos Islands, and that can be proved through archaeological finds, etc. They had trading links up until the expulsion of those people. Where do you think, supplies came from? They came from the Maldives, and they do not want Mauritius having these islands, and the reason is very simple. What they fear is a region, a vast geographical region, that has been really very stable since the end of World War II, will now descend into a turf war for influence between India and China. And we're seeing signs of that already. So the Maldivian government are furious as well.
The thing, I mean, from an outside point of view, you look at it and you go, right, so hold on a minute, we're £10 billion we're paying every month in interest on debts we haven't got. We're giving away something strategic, and it's costing us £35 billion. You said it then, grubby deal. You see Starmer go to China and cozy up to Xi and all that, and you think to yourself, is Starmer up to something dodgy here? Because it doesn't make any bloody sense, Nigel, does it?
Well, Starmer's best friends, of course, stand to make millions.
Yeah.
That there is no doubt. But when it comes to China, China has already built outside Port Louis, the main town in Mauritius, has already built a smart city. Huawei have got the communications networks and the listening posts in Mauritius. China are in very, very deep. It is very strongly in their interests, and remember the massive growth of the size of the Chinese Navy. It's massively in their interests for this to happen. And also, I would say this to those who care about the environment. This is the greatest protected marine park in the world.
True.
It is vast. It is vast. I promise you, within a month of this treaty going through, there'll be Chinese deep-sea fishing vessels. There'll be environmental destruction on a huge, huge scale. And all we're asking for is for this to remain British, for the Americans to keep the security of their base, for us not to waste tens of billions of pounds, which we don't need to do, and for us finally to right the wrong with thousands of people of Chagosian heritage who just want to go home and live a actually very innocent island life.
Many people here will say that this is going to be the 458th U-turn. There's now pressure from America. Trump's sort of gone up and down. I think last week, I was away, but I think last week he was denied by Starmer the chance to fly planes from a certain airbase. Have you spoken to Trump about the Chagos Islands, Nigel?
I have spoken to him about the Chagos Islands, very much so, and I've spoken to many other senior members of the US administration. And Trump made it very clear last week in one of his messages that freehold is a lot better than leasehold. And as a real estate guy, I guess I can kind of get that. But, he can now see very clearly that whatever guarantees we get from the Mauritian government won't necessarily hold. After all, think about our deal over Hong Kong with China. They broke that not even halfway through. There's no way we can trust a corrupt and virtually bankrupt Mauritius.
Two things. Is he a traitor for giving the islands away, Starmer?
It is an act that is against our national self-interest. We will let your own listeners determine their own word.
Don't anybody ever say that you're not an experienced politician. What a fantastic answer. Do you think it'll collapse, though, mate? Seriously, do you think that this will be a U-turn because of pressure from Trump, because of what you've highlighted, because people are going, hold on a second, we're skint and we're giving away 35 billion quid. Can you see this collapsing? Or do you think, out of spite, as he knows his premiership is in jeopardy, that he'll just stick at it to try and please the remaining human rights lawyers across the world who still seem to have him on some sort of pedestal?
All I would say is this: if Reform win the next election, we will cancel this deal. We will cease the payments. We will not recognise it as being a valid act. It is so against the interests of us, the Americans, global stability in the region, and the Chagosian people.
You talk about if Reform wins the next election. Big announcement today in Dover. You're heading off there. I know Zia Yusuf, your newly appointed Shadow Home Secretary, will make a pledge, Nigel, a visa ban on Pakistan and 5 other countries with high Muslim populations that won't take back illegal migrants. You say as a party you will deport 300,000 illegal migrants a year. Putting aside what I think, I just want to say this to you. Some of the press already out going, this is going to be ICE-style removal. This is not what the United Kingdom is about. This is what's wrong with reform. It's far right. It's unfair. What do you say to those people?
Well, what's unfair is us becoming a food bank for the world. What is unfair is people coming here illegally, living off the state in many cases for the rest of their lives, or getting involved in criminality, massively increasing the population. That is what is unfair. And it's about time we started to be fair, A, to the settled British population, and B, to those who've come here legally.
Yeah.
I think if you come in as a legal immigrant, you've gone through the loopholes, you've gone through the cost, it's unfair to you as well. And unless you deport people who've come illegally, you know what will happen? More will continue to come. And you mentioned Pakistan. Now, this is extraordinary. Of those that come on visitor visas from Pakistan, 10% never go back. 10% never go back. We simply can't go on like this.
When you, let's say Reform are elected and you do what you, well, I know you'll do what you say you're going to do. Are you ready for or expecting a massive backlash? You look at what happened to Trump, you look at the do-gooders and the bedwetters on the left who'll say this isn't Great Britain, we should be caring about everybody to the detriment of the indigenous population. But would you expect a backlash with forced deportations?
There's bound to be a backlash. There'll be a backlash to any change to the liberal consensus, which has held sway now for decades in this country through mainstream politics and through most of mainstream media. Anything we try to do to reassert common sense will be met by protest, will be met by backlash. We know that. But we believe that the common sense majority of this country can see that there are fundamental differences between what is right and what is wrong.
Final question. I know you're a busy man. Zia Yusuf today in Dover will announce that. He will also talk about a new protection of Christian heritage. I'd just love your view on this appalling story at the weekend. I'm sure you heard it. The female police officer in Whitechapel being ambushed by a group of Muslim men asking or demanding that a Christian preacher be removed because, in their words, this is a Muslim area. This woman stood alone and said, no, freedom of speech works both ways. People here at Talk imagine she'll be behind a desk and demoted within 5 minutes. I think she needs a medal, Nigel. That's exactly what freedom of speech is, isn't it?
You've just taken the words out of my mouth. She deserves to be honoured. I watched that video. She was calm. She was logical. Goodness me, what a credit she was to the Metropolitan Police. What a credit she was to herself, and what a credit she was to plain common sense in what we like to think of as a free country. No, she did absolutely brilliantly. I wish more were like it.
One more thing, don't hit me over the head. My listeners keep asking when you're coming in because they want to put questions to you.
I will at some point come in, but as you can see, I was in Mauritius. I was in the Maldives yesterday. I'm in Dover today. I'm in Birmingham tomorrow. I'm in Manchester on Wednesday and Thursday. So, catch me when you can.
Listen, it's great to have you on. So grateful for your time. Nigel Farage, leader of Reform there, very honest and very open about the Chagos deals.